What is up, guys? Dave, Duncan, and Kyle back from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan, Kyle, and I have been checking out the new album from Danish progressive metal band Cold Night For Alligators. The band's new album, The Hindsight Notes, will be released on March 4th via A Rising Empire. So, this is album number 3 from Cold Night For Alligators, which follows up Fervor from 2018. The album was produced by Cold Night For Alligators and Mirza Radonjica, engineered by Chris Kreutzfeldt and Jacob Hansen, and then mixed by Jacob Hansen, who has worked with Catatonia, Aborted, Raunchy, Hatesphere, Volbeat, like the list goes on. Cold Night For Alligators. Duncan, you kind of raised our awareness to these guys a few weeks back.
Yes.
I initially thought this album was out, actually, when you told us about it. I was like, I need to check this one out.
It was cross purposes, because I was like that, let's get this one on the kind of awareness list, and Dave's like that. It's not the whole album, though. And I was like, I know it's not the whole album. You're like, well, it's supposed to be. It gets released today. And I was like, no, Dave, it doesn't, because today the whole album isn't out. And it turns out it was supposed to be. Right enough, Dave was right. I hate to say that, so you can edit that bit out if you want, Dave. Dave was right, and it was supposed to be released, then marginally delayed.
Yes, yeah. Which was handy, because it then gave us a chance to review it.
Also, that week had a lot of albums in. So.
Yes, it did. And like by that point that we thought it was out, they'd actually put out like 6 singles.
Yeah.
Before
10 tracks on the album, so we pretty much did have the album.
Yeah, right? I mean, we'd heard a fair chunk of it already.
Yeah, 2/3.
But we still had a little bit to go, and we still had to kind of listen to it, and in the order that the band had picked for the album and stuff. So, Duncan, I'm going to let you go first, since it was you that kind of raised our awareness to this band. What did you think of the album?
So I'd never heard of these guys before, and I'd come across them. Let the listeners into my dull, sad little life. I do a lot of running, a lot of treadmill running, and sometimes I'll make a playlist for myself. Sometimes I will pick a playlist on Apple, and when I do that, I'll pick what's hot in metal, or metal workout. That's right. Yeah. Sort of thing. I'll pick these stations and let them go, and then run away. And they're a good chance for me to find bands that I've never heard of before that have released something, within the last year or whatnot. And No Connection, track number 2, it was on this, and within about a minute of this track, I was clicking the button whilst running, which you shouldn't do, on my phone, clicking the button, going to the album, hitting the download all thing, and it turned out that I think it coincided with the album supposed to be releasing that day. And what kind of stood out to me about them was it was really fucking good songwriting. Like, really, really good songwriting with amazing vocals, incredible production. And the middle section, like the kind of interlude, had an electronic boom, which I fucking love. Not gonna lie. Like, 2000 is called, and once it's electronic boom back, you're not fucking getting it. It's staying with me. It's had a boom and a saxophone solo, and I was just like, everything is just being tickled here, including my boss. This is amazing. And so I went back through it, and at that point, I think the first 3 tracks, Behind Curtains, No Connection, and Verism, were in the pre-order with Nostalgic and Thin Line, and then they released Water that day, which was because the album didn't come out. So, like, I was like, already I can listen to these while I'm running. I can check out more. And what struck to me straight away is, like, this band have fucking chops. Like, these guys are really, 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 really good musicians, and the way they craft a song straight away is what grabbed me in. There's a bit of edge there, but it's refined. It's really, 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 really well polished. And I've still, because I'm lazy, I've still to check out the previous stuff, but it would not surprise me if their earlier stuff was a bit heavier than this.
Yes.
Because it kind of feels like this is them gravitating into their sound. But they've retained those elements. Like some of the bass pedal work is fucking brilliant, and it's really interesting, nice and quick. The drum work just in general is like above super solid. This is a guy who's very comfortable with the kit and can just like flurry when he wants to, but knows when to hold it back. The guitar work, the riffs are fucking incredible. The production on this, the inclusion of synths, the synths are really cleverly used in this, like really, really, really well used. Sometimes it's just for those electro effects to bolster bits out, but huge bits where they lift behind the melody, which is what I love. That's what synths are designed for.
What about the bass? What about the bass?
I'm coming back to the bass.
What? That should be number one.
No, I'm coming back to the bass, Steve. Don't ever interrupt me when I'm mid-flow again.
Bass
I will fire you. I will fire you and I will send you to the back. Vocally, this guy's got a great range as well, and at first I had to double check because they do some kind of blackened style vocals towards the end. In fact, the vocals get slightly heavier towards the end of the album. I think it's Worn Out Mannequin, it's track 8. He does some kind of blackened style vocals where I was like, that sounds like the Mall singer. Did he guest on this album?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't read the notes. And I was fucking right. They're from Denmark, so that makes sense. But like, they're only in a small bit, but oh my god, do they fucking work? And there's also gospel. There's gospel vocals on that track as well. These guys just mix everything in with huge swaths, and this is where I pivot. This is where I pivot to the bass, Dave. I'm setting up to it. Huge 80s influence, like massive 80s influence, which is when the bass comes in. The bass is fucking amazing. This bass player is, like, once again, just like on a musicianship, and they're young guys. Like, I saw that, like, I checked out the music video for No Connection. They're young. They must be in their 20s, right? Yeah. I don't think any of them have hit 30 yet. And they're already operating at such a high level. The bass work is chunky, it's groove ridden, it's playful, it's funky. He's got all these different realms that he brings in, and when the music goes more commercially and 80s poppy, totally fits in with that. But then when it goes into that kind of proggy sort of, how do you describe it? It's like not metalcore, but it's kind of like proggy stuff. When it hits into that, he drops it right down and just hits those grooves, and everything syncs up. It is, like, from a musician's point of view, it is such a rewarding album to listen to, because the songs are incredibly written, like really, really well. But they're also super fucking commercial. Like, and there is a reason there are 6 singles released from this album. Every single track on this album could be a single, right? Which kind of, like,
makes sense.
As I was listening through it, I was like that like the ones that didn't get released as singles so far. Let's just go stress the album's only just come out. Dusty Patterns, once again, it's a bit more oblique to some of the other stuff, but once again, it's fucking full of hooks. Adjust is the one that's fully 80s shit. Worn Out Mannequin has those blackened vocals, and Hindsight, the closing track, just brings it all in together. It is such a well-written album, and such an easy album to listen to if you're just in the mood to be a casual listener. But if you're wanting to dissect the album, that's the reward for me, because I think it's just full of nuance, it's full of clever songwriting, studio techniques aplenty, and the way it's mixed is it's incredible. Like, there are bits in the background where there's small flurries of backing vocals or synth work that are so subtly mixed in that you really kind of have to really pay attention to check it out. But when you hear what it's doing, you suddenly realise why sections sound much grander than the rest of it. So it's just a really, 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 really good album. I was so glad we got to review it. I this is one of these ones that I would hate to get to the midway point of the year and be like, let me tell you a little album that we didn't review or speak about at all. It's good to get the kind of word out on this one. I think this is fucking great. And once again, another exclamation mark as to why Denmark might be the most exciting scene right now in music. I think they've got something for everyone. And it's kind of, when I was trying to piece it all together, there are elements. The synth work kind of reminded me at times of Raunchy. The melody kind of reminds me a little bit of Car Park North, and then the music itself is like swaths of kind of 80s pop and kind of proggy grooves and swoon. Yeah, like I just can't. You give me a sax solo. You give me a sax solo on an album, and you will have my undying love forever. This is fucking awesome. If this is not what we're here to do, I don't know what we're here to do. The only thing I could ever imagine someone moaning about is it's too radio friendly, and that person can fuck right off. So yeah, this is fucking great. This is absolutely fucking great.
Okay. Duncan's
I liked it.
Not sitting on the fence on this one, as we can see.
I'm all in. I'm chips all in on this one. This is fucking awesome.
Excellent. Kyle, what did you think?
I'm on the exact opposite side of the fence than Duncan.
Oh,
Really, I am. I don't know what I didn't like about this, but it just came off. It just came off to me as like kind of just self-indulgent and meandering, and it didn't really know what it wanted to be, and there was like bits of stuff here, and then it was never repeated, and it was like just really disjointed and discordant. I don't know.
You did listen to the right album. I just want to stress you did listen to the right album.
And like it was over-processed, and the mix was just far too polished and clean and squeaky, you know. And I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe it hit me in a bad mood. I have no idea. But like, I listened to it a few times, and I just could not get on with it every time, which is weird because it's got so many elements of shit I love.
Yeah,
like,
I would have thought you would. Yeah,
like 80s like synths and all this stuff. It's got all this, but I don't know. It just never came together for me. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying they're bad musicians. They're clearly great at songwriting and very good at them instruments, and they know how to put stuff together. But when it all came down to it, I just couldn't. I couldn't get on with it. I just I felt like there was. I don't know if it was. Because like when they were playing a quiet bit, right, it was as loud as all of the louder bits, and I think there's very little dynamic, and I think a lot of it had to do with like the mix and the engineering, because it was a lot of just stuff like that, just studio stuff that just pisses me off. And I think maybe that just overshadowed a lot of stuff. That's one of the things I noticed the most thing. I mean, I love the dude's vocals, I will say that. And the guitar and bass tones were, like Duncan mentioned, the bass was fantastic. But there were just elements of stuff I really liked, but I could never like appreciate it all as one big thing together as a band, as a group of songs. I was like, just could not. Every time I really tried, I was like, that's really good. What's the next bit? This fucking, you know, just didn't do it for me. Maybe it's just not my thing. I don't know. So yeah, I'm throwing rocks at Duncan from the other side of the fence. Sorry.
All in on this album, not all in on Kyle. Taking my fucking chips back.
Yeah, take them. I don't want them.
Most baffling review I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, me too.
Not what I was expecting there, but so for me, when I knew we were going to be reviewing this, I wanted to go back and kind of have a listen to see what they'd kind of done before. So I went back and listened to Fervour and Course of Events, their first album from 2016. Just, to get an idea of what they've been up to. And I think, like, you could tell from those albums that these guys have had a lot of potential. As much as I liked what they had, what I heard on those releases, I feel like this album is a head and shoulders above what they'd previously done. Still mixing, similar styles on this release, but they've definitely kind of pushed and pulled some of those styles for the Hindsight Notes. Their first album, Course of Events, was, Kyle, you might actually like the first album. It's very sixth in places on that first album, a bit more kind of clinical feeling. They start to relax that a little bit on Fervour, but on the Hindsight Notes, they've like fully explored that more like melodic, atmospheric side. Stylistically, like you can still hear it kind of, it leans less on the kind of the Djenty kind of metalcore side of things than they have done in the past. Probably more towards like prog rock and alternative on this album. Like this is, for me, this was way more like Leprous or Karnivool than it was like Sixth, for example. Like it still has like that kind of bounce to it in places. They haven't like taken out that like kind of Djenty part of their sound, but it feels, as you said, softer, a bit more refined on this release. It doesn't feel like the songs are built around that style or a particular riff, which is sometimes how it felt on those previous releases. I felt like these songs felt more teased out, a bit more depth. They have hooks, and I thought the transitions from one part of the song to the next, I thought felt way more natural. I felt kind of instantly drawn in on this album, if I'm honest. Like, I kind of wanted to hear more and where they were going to go next. And I thought that was down to a few things. Firstly, the songwriting. I really liked the way the songs were structured on the album. I think the way they've kind of structured and their songwriting in general has definitely went up a level, maybe 2 levels actually. They always had kind of decent writing skills, but here it feels like the ideas and structures are way more fleshed out. And even though this might be a slightly kind of less technical album than they've done before, it actually feels bigger and more ambitious than anything they've done before. I think like adding in that different instrumentation, like the strings and the sax and the synths, like almost kind of like 80s kind of retro synths, I thought they were really cool. But also adding in more melody and dynamics and textures, I think it really shows the kind of level of maturity this band have now. And it feels like that potential has kind of been fully unlocked. I think the other thing I liked about this was the flow. I think the way they blend the different ideas and maneuver from something like Adjust, which is very tranquil and atmospheric and warm with melody and strings, into something like Worn Out Mannequin, which is like, that's groove, it's got big riffs, but you've got those like blackened vocals from Kim from Mole. I think the way they've placed a lot of the songs is very clever. It never feels like there's a dip on the album at all to me. But while we're on vocals, I think like the vocals are outstanding on this album. I think Johan Pedersen, I think his performance is his best performance to date. His range, his delivery are phenomenal on the album. He also adds a really kind of mass of emotional depth to this release as well. And it's one of the main reasons that I found it such an addictive album to come back to. His choice of melody is very infectious. Especially on like Behind Curtains or Thin Line, which are just packed with like so many vocal earworms. And the thing is, he doesn't really like venture into like the more aggressive side of things vocally. It's all very clean for the majority, but I didn't mind that at all. Why would you, like, when you've got a voice like that? Wouldn't even bother. But yeah, as you guys have said, very, very talented musicians. I think for me, like, the bass playing was fantastic. It's quite noticeable in the mix, but for good reason. The guy can play like a son of a bitch. I think the guitarists are very talented. My only kind of criticism was I felt like some of the kind of Djentier ideas maybe sounded a little played out. Like, I feel like I've heard a lot of that done before. But that being said, I think if you give this a chance, you'll hear the Hindsight Notes is much more than just like another Djent album or another Djent band. These guys have a lot of depth and variation in their sound. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. And I thought, like, listening to the singles we'd heard beforehand, I thought, yeah, this sounds pretty cool. But actually hearing it as a full album, yeah, I was pretty impressed with this. Scoring for this one then. Let's see where these scores land. So, Cold Night for Alligators, the Hindsight Notes. Duncan, what are you thinking?
That's a 4.5. It's fucking great.
Nice. 4.5. Kyle?
I just want to preface this by saying I don't think it's crap or garbage or anything like that. It's just sometimes you don't like something for whatever reason, and this time I just didn't like it. I'm just sorry, but they're very good, but I just don't like it. So 3.5. 3.5,
okay. I'm sitting right in the middle. 4 out of 5 for me. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I think, when is this one out? 4th of March. This one drops on the 4th of March.
Unless it gets delayed again.
Well, I'm hoping that it's definitely going to get released this time. It comes out on A Rising Empire. Check out the links below in the description to their Facebook, to the Bandcamp, pre-orders, all that sort of stuff. You can check it out. Let us know what you think. Obviously, there's a bunch of singles out already, so have a listen, see what you think, let us know. Thanks for checking out the review, much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.